Hello, welcome to step 14. So in this episode, we're going to be putting the passenger side or right side fender together with details. First and foremost, G18 is the main part, and we're going to be adding C1. I'm going to skip the photo etch for the moment because I want to be able to put this together without a lot of issues, problems, or worrying about having that photo etch piece in the way. Now it looks like this has a little bit of an angle to it, so be aware. Once that's on, there is a photo etch part that needs to be put on right here, which, like I have told you in episodes past, I occasionally, I like to use the glue rather than using super glue. It's a little bit easier. So in this case, I will do that. Put the glue on the outline. Put that on there. Now, in here you have a choice of GPT, which is GP2, which is this particular fret right here. You have a choice between parts 5, doot, and part 6, doot. And they're just a different style. Don't really know if it's early or late. I'm gonna guess that it's early and late. 5 is early, 6 is late. I'm not 100% sure on that. What I would say is if you use 5, use 5 throughout for all of your lights, or if you use 6, the same thing. But they're very nicely cast, clear parts. I'm not going to be adding them now. I will add them later. But I wanted you to be aware of what they are and where they are. Also, might as well cover it at this point too. There is a choice for the headlight. You have J4, which is solid plastic, or on GP1, it's part 1 right here. And the nice thing is that this part and this part are exactly the same casting. So it has all the same detail on the back, right here and right here, including being hollow, so on and so forth. Everything is the same. It's just that this one's clear, that one is not. So whichever you're more comfortable with or want to work with, you have a choice now. Again, I'm not going to add it at this point, but that's one of the things that is nice about this kit. So now I'm going to fold my photo etch. And in this case, it is folding bolts up, bolts in. So what that means is I'm putting it with the photo etched portion, the bolts, visible. I'm going to get this started by, if I can, by putting a blade underneath. Now if you have to go this route, be careful. When this thing slips, you don't want it to slip into you. But there's the bend. There we go. So now I've got this pretty much done. Now here's the deal. This piece in and of itself can be put on, but it is meant to be sandwiched between the plastic. So I am going to first make sure that this is nice and level. You don't want it to be curved up or have any wave to it or anything like that, because then it won't sit flat on that plastic. So there it is. I'm going to square it up. And this is just what I'm doing. You do not have to do this. You can save this until a later part, but I'm using the glue and capillary action to go in. You can see that it got a little off angle. So now that I've put that on, what I'm doing is locating the top of the hole with the tab and putting that there. So then, assuming that I end up using the clear part, all I have to do is basically glue it on however I need to. More than likely, if I use the clear part, I will be using some sort of clear glue, something that's going to not end up crazing or coloring or obscuring the clear part. If I was just going to do this otherwise, I'd just glue this right on. And then most likely put some like chrome color on there, and then smoky, Tamiya smoky black or a glossy black or something along those lines. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Now moving up here, we have J7. That also gets JP2-2 right here. Not going to add that right now since it's a clear part, but I am going to add the housing light, or the light housing, sorry, at this point. And it is keyed, so it basically just goes on. Now, one of the fun things about it, although this might drive some people crazy, is that it's not perfectly keyed. It has some wiggle room, and in that case you can actually have it off kilter. And as much as that may drive some of us crazy on our models and make it look sloppy, in real life these lights can often be found a little bit askew. If you look at any prototype photos, you'll find out that not everything is, you know, square, plumb, and level with itself or its surrounding parts. So if you wanted to add a little bit of flare or difference to it, and this is just to check and make sure that the clearance is there for when I put this part on. And of course it moved. So I'm just checking to make sure that when I go to put the part in, that it will work. That the piece above isn't going to cause it problems by interfering. And that looks good for right now. So, with that said, there are now 2 metal pieces that they say to add in. So one of the little baggies that comes with the kit has all these bent metal parts in it. Rods, looks like a spring. So what I'm going to do, similar to what I did previously with the pins for the suspension, is I'm going to put a small cut on this corner. That allows me to access these parts without necessarily opening the bag up so much that it's going to be spilling its contents everywhere. And then I can either maneuver the parts to that corner and see if I can get them out, which does work, or I can go into the bag with my tweezers, forceps, and pull them out. There's one. And there's the second one. So now, hopefully, I won't have to worry about lots of stuff falling out of those bags while they're still being stored. Now, what I want to check on is this is set up to where that goes in this hole on the one side, supposedly, and then it has a hole in the photo etch on this front piece. But as you can see, I don't quite match up. And apparently I also missed cleaning up that gate part right there. It's off by a little bit. So if I move the photo etch down to the point to where the bottom of that opening is available, and then put this on, looks like it fits. Now, I want to put this in here partly because I need to check and see what kind of clearance or clearance problems I'm going to have with the headlight after this is put together. Because that may mean that I need to make my decisions with this clear light now and then put it on before I put these rods in. Because these are supposed to protect the lights. So I'm assuming that they're not going to allow me to put the headlight in easily afterwards. But let's find out. And yeah, I'm right. The only thing I can think is that I might be able to slide it in sideways. Because I would much rather have these in place with the headlight still out. But we can't always have what we want, right? I'm thinking I could put it in there. Yeah, it looks like it'll fit. So, you have a choice on how you want to do this. I, at this point, am going to break out my tire glue, and I think I'm going to place that there. Now, I'm working with my glue, and I can't really put it on the parts. I just have a little plastic baggie that's left over from some kit or something else, but I can put a little pile, not exactly a specific term, of super glue so I can get a coating. I'm going to call it a coating. Less than a drop. And I can put it on there, and then I'm going to check and make sure. Now, the important thing with this, again, is to remember, you want this photo etch piece even with the bottom, even though it won't be even with the top. A lot of evens there. But that's what you're aiming for, so that you get everything to fit. Same thing with this one. Yeah, they're little blobs of glue. I get it. But I can clean it up if I need to. Now the thing about this tire glue is that it does set nice and quick. So I'm checking to make sure it's square from above. It is. Clean off a little bit of the glue. That is making a bit of a mess there. It's okay because I've got my cleanup material to work with. Looking at it from above and from the side, looks pretty good. I'll let that start to set. Make sure I have this out of the way so I don't stick my fingers or parts in it. Going to go to bend this. Now the important thing to note about bending this is that the photo etched bolt heads are on this side, the lines are on the opposite side, and it is, excuse me, the way this is set up is that the folds, you fold into the grooves. At least that's the way that it looks. So I'm going to start with the smallest part here and fold into the grooves. Now the nice thing is with a nice small piece like that, it just folds right over. And if I'm too close, I can back it off a little bit and just do that. Now I'm assuming right now that 90 degrees is what I need. I'm not 100% sure. And because it's a piece like this to where parts are going to be touching, I'm not going to be able to do everything 100%. And that's when you start looking for corners or as I've done in the past when I can't really get things well. And the nice thing, that is the nice thing about bending into the trough. No, that's not right. Anyways, that's the nice thing about bending into it, is that you can set it up or do it with smaller things like tweezers. And it might have been smarter to start with the larger piece first and then work my way down. But apparently smart isn't my thing today. So I'm confident working with my forceps myself, but not everybody is, or not everybody has a nice set of forceps. So thought I'd let you know that maybe going with the longer piece, bending longer piece first, might make this a lot easier for the rest of you. But in the end, I've got it. It looks like everything bends at 90 degrees to get the look that we want for this piece right here. Now this piece does have a fold line on it right here and here. And it says that you fold it forward against the bolts. So the bolts are on that side. Good to notice. So with that in mind, what I want to do, or at least what I'm comfortable with, is I put the end that has the smaller portion into the fold so that I have the larger piece on the outside. Now, again, I did not apparently trim this as well as I thought, so I just take a file and go up and down the long length to get any of the tabs that might still be left, like so. And then, as I said, because we're folding into, but I want to be able to see where the fold lines are on the back. There's that. And then just give it a little bend, because it's not a full 90. Pull it out. At this point I'll be making adjustments, but how do I feel about that? I think that looks pretty darn close. So this piece here with its bolts appears to match up with the bolts down here, so it glues on here. Now this is, see, the patterns match there. So this is photo etch on photo etch. So this is where I'm definitely putting glue on the back. And sometimes I will use my forceps as a glue dispensary. Now the thing about this black glue again is that you got to be quick with it, because it doesn't have the same ratio or time ratio, yeah, of not setting before. And then it's a matter of kind of guessing, like so, and then I'm looking there. So it looks like how this goes is that this photo etch part on the bottom here should be about even between the bottom of the top piece and the bottom of this piece here, and the angle that cuts off at, so it goes from here and there, that should be pretty much right in the edge. So this is pretty close, and it's well attached. And this part right here on the bottom, this piece right here, is what gets attached over here on this mark. So before I do that, I'm going to clean this off, make sure that looks better. Second thing I'm going to do is, now that this black glue is set, so I'm not worried about these parts moving around, I'm going to double check and make sure that this will fit in, because if it doesn't, then I'm going to take one of those wires off and I'm going to have to put the light in. Now, I can get the part in. So, but getting it to set, taking a little bit of work. So it will go in that way. You can add these metal bars and then add the part later. You may end up wanting to trim down the peg on the back of this so that it goes in without any sort of a fuss. It looks like there might be a little bit of movement that takes place, or maybe it's not quite catching there. All I'm saying is that to make this work easily, you may want to clean that out. Now I'm going to take my debonder and my paintbrush, similar to what I did in a previous video, put some debonder on the paintbrush there. And then I'm going to actually put a little pool of that right there. I'm going to go in and clean that off. Looks like the debonder is reacting with the plastic, so I'm going to maybe have to change my plans working with the debonder in this kit. At least it doesn't look like it's very happy. And I don't think debonder goes bad, but on the other hand, apparently it does react with the kit plastic. So with the debonder in place, at least when I take my forceps and run it around, that does clean it off, which is good. Gives it a nice appearance. So, not saying that the black super glue is the best, just that I've enjoyed working with it more than with regular super glue. It's easier to see when I've got it off. And I've debonded it to clean it off, or uncure, I guess is what I'm using. But I can't say for certain that that'll work for everybody, or that it's maybe what you're comfortable with or what you want to do. Just want to show that it can be done that way. I think it looks good. And finally, I'm going to use the black super glue for the back of this photo etch piece onto the kit part, under the plastic for this, just because I get the feeling this is going to kind of take some hits as I'm building, and I want it to have a little bit more strength than without that. Now, I smeared on what little bit of glue I had left, not really working the way I want to do this right, so I'm gonna add some more to kind of beef it up. Now, if for some reason it got too thick or it got stuck or I had to do something different, then I would. Now, the important part about this is that this part sits like this part sits like this. So, I just made a mess of it. Not a terrible mess, but every time I move it though, kind of lose my patience. Okay, there it is, right like that. Make sure it's square. It is. Now, in this case, I'm going to use the debonder with a cotton swab, or the uncure with a cotton swab, like such. This is how I prefer to do it, and I think it works pretty well, cleaning up all the extra on the sides. And we'll go back and take a look at the other part in a minute here, just to see if the plastic is crazed again, or, well, it is discolored. And I can see right now. Wasn't expecting that. That might just be because of the concentration too, but, and it does feel a little rough. So I don't know if it made a deposit or if it actually roughed up the plastic, but okay, nice point. Don't use the uncure in a pool or get too out of hand with it. Note to self, maybe not cool. But you can see here there's a little bit also going on, but not a lot. And finally, even though we held off on this from before, right at the beginning of the step we have this part. But this part looks a lot like it, and I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure if it goes, I think, yeah, it goes behind, so that's nice. But still, this is not what I would say is a comfortable mounting point. However, this has to be put on. Let's do it the right way. So, I put the super glue on there. Come around and use that little notch in the photo etch as my key. And of course drop it straight down in there, why not? Most of the glue stayed on the plastic instead though. Straighten it out so that it's mainly level like that, already starting to set nice. That looks good. It's not going anywhere. So there is step 14. Remember, we're minus putting the clear part into J7, and we are minus putting the headlamp on either as the clear part or as the kit part, and we're minus putting either clear part JP2-5 or -6. And again, what you want to do is make sure you pick one style and then stick with it for the rest of the build on this kit. That covers all of step 14, and I'll see you at step 15, almost halfway there.